Hey everyone, I am Dr. Rusty Tryon. I'm the college librarian here at the Woods, and I just want to take a couple of minutes today to just give you a refresher and a reminder of how to effectively engage with the library as you come to the point where you're working on your capstone project. So to do that, we're going to kind of use the library's webpage that you see there on the screen as our starting point. And basically, what I want to do in my presentation is focus on two main ideas, and those are, first of all, finding appropriate sources, and then secondly, appropriately citing those sources. So we'll get started on that first point of finding sources, and then slide into the topic of citing those sources, and come back and talk a bit more about finding additional types of sources. So to me, one of the key things to remember as you engage the library for your research is to really think about the type of source you need so that you can select an appropriate database. To me, database selection is kind of the linchpin for effectively engaging in research through the library and just going to the right place to find the right type of information. So to that end, we're going to look for a few different types of sources, and we'll look at a couple of different databases to help us find those relevant sources. So the first thing we want to do as we look at our library page here is just remember how to get here. So I know that there are links within Canvas to get you to the library's page here very quickly. And there are links kind of all over the web that you can get to. I recommend just using that short URL, library.smwc.edu, and that will bring you right here, or you can just Google SMWC Library and it brings you to the same page as well. Um, we're going to skip over that quick search. So if you remember in the past, I've mentioned there are a couple of different ways to use that quick search most effectively. One being you have a known item search. So if there's a particular article or a particular book that you have in mind that you're looking for, and you just want to know if it's available to you through the library, that is a really quick and effective way to determine that by using that quick search box. Or if you're doing some really focused, narrow research and you're just not finding the results you need through other library databases, then you would want to use that advanced search option and that quick search to search all the library databases that you have access to and then beyond those. So I like to say that that quick search is kind of the library version of a Google search, not quite as comprehensive as Google, but essentially you're searching a vast set of resources when you use that advanced search. So knowing that we want to be very focused and intentional in the databases that we pick, we're going to click on the databases button there to get our full list of databases. And so one thing that you can do is remember to search subject-specific or discipline-specific databases. So in this case, we want to filter our list to business databases, and we're going to go ahead and select that first recommended database, which is Business Source Ultimate. So as we come into the database, this is where you will have to consider various criteria in terms of how to search for content here. So you'll want to strategize about the best terms to use in your search string, using the different boxes there and potentially those drop downs, and think about other requirements that are being offered in your assignment instructions in terms of the quality of the content, so looking for peer-reviewed content, any date limitations, and so on and so forth. So I'm going to do a very simple search today. I'm going to look for articles on employee mentoring. And so I'm just going to type that in there as that search there, and I'm not going to really change anything today. So I'm just going to go ahead and execute this search just to see kind of the number of results that come back in this database. And it's a fair number, so over 600 articles in this database that potentially are relevant to the topic of employee mentoring. So what I want to do is kind of consider some of these limiters over on the left-hand side of the screen. So one thing I know I need to do, or I want to do for my research, is to look at peer-reviewed content. So essentially, just think of peer review as kind of a quality control check for articles. So this content has been reviewed by experts in the field. And so this is the best of the best in terms of academic content. And then another thing I want to do is I'm going to limit the publication range. So I'm just going to look for somewhat current research. So I'm just going to limit to the past 10 years of content for my search results here. just kind of as one of those limitations I'm going to apply in my lit review here. And so I'm down to a pretty manageable number of results. I have 82 results here. And as I scroll down through my list, I begin to make determinations about the relevance and pertinence of the articles that are being displayed here. So number 4 catches my eye. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that and take a closer look at this particular article. And so some things that I encourage you to look for as you're looking at these articles before you even click on the full text is look to see if there is an abstract, which is a summary of that article that you can use to make a determination about the relevance of that particular article to what it is that you're researching, and just really kind of use that to help you guide and make determinations. And certainly you do have the access to the full text on the left side. There's that PDF. And again, I always would encourage you to use a PDF if you have an option between a PDF and an HTML full text, just because that PDF full text will include some information that may not be present in that HTML full text, such as page numbers. And so if you're going to cite these sources, especially if you're using a direct quote and you need to have that precise page number in your citation, then you'll get to that most easily by using that PDF full text. And so that's the one that I would encourage you to use. So at this point, I'm going to diverge just a little bit and kind of talk about that second main topic, which is citing your sources correctly. And so with most databases, you will find some kind of link or button that will help you in citing your sources correctly as you do that for your research. And so in this particular database, it's this little button on the right-hand side of the screen that's labeled Cite. And so when we click on that in the middle of the screen, it generates for us this particular article formatted in really just a large number of citation styles. And so we'll find our way through the APA 7th edition, and then we can begin to use this as we build our reference list for our project. So I always encourage students to use this because it's a great time saver. So you can copy and paste this over into your reference list and be well on your way to citing your sources rather than creating that citation from scratch. However, if you are going to use this particular feature, then you'll want to do your due diligence and you'll want to follow up to make sure that the citation that you're obtaining from this particular database is correct. So this one is incorrect. So I'm not an expert in APA style, but I can already tell that there are some issues with the citation. And that is that the title of this article is using headline case or headline style capitalization, and APA uses sentence style. And so you want to go in and look for those types of errors and make those corrections as you're putting this into your reference list. So again, it is a great time saver. It prevents maybe some silly typos that you might make as you're typing that up yourself, but then you have to make sure that that citation is correct. And so you'll want to verify it against an authoritative source, paying attention to things like capitalization and punctuation, just to make sure that you're getting a complete and accurate citation from the database. So one other thing I want to mention about articles, especially as we think about citing those sources, is that for a lot of articles, especially those that have been published very recently, you will find an associated DOI. So in this particular database, you see them appear even on this first page. You don't even have to click into the article information to see that DOI. We'll go ahead and do that for this one. But that DOI is located here at the bottom of the page. And essentially, that DOI is just a unique number assigned to this article. It's short for digital object identifier, and those can be used to create a link that will direct you to that article from the publisher. So as I click on this cite button, you'll see here in my citation, because there's a DOI here, that it makes it into a link. Now, sometimes you might find that this link, rather than looking like the one you're seeing now, may have what we call a prefix, and that prefix will include things like easyproxy.smwc.edu. So if you see something like that in your DOI that you're getting at the end of your article, you'll want to make sure that you take that out. Because that will likely result in an error when someone clicks on that and tries to go to that DOI, because we more likely than not do not have access to that article on the publisher site, and that's where the DOI directs you to. It directs you to that article on the publisher site. So if we don't have access to that content from the publisher, then when someone clicks on that with that proxy prefix added to it, they'll receive an error message and they won't be able to get to the content. So just kind of keep that tucked away in the back of your mind as you're looking at using the citation generators, knowing that if it's coming from a library database, it may have that string that you would have to just update again in that citation to make sure that it's accurate and pointing to where it is that you need to go. So the other thing I want to mention here about our result list is that, by and large, you should find that most of the content is available to you full text. You should find a PDF full text link, an HTML full text link. In some cases, you might find a link that's labeled View Full Text. And what that means is that that content is available to you on another library database. And so you should be able to click on that link and get to the full text. However, there are some instances, like you see here for number 7, where the only option available to you is to request a copy. And so what that means is that it's not available to you through any library database. And so what we'll have to do is generate an interlibrary loan request. And so that is the process where we will go and obtain that content for you from another library that does have it so that you can use it in your own research. Now, before you do that, before you click on that request a copy link, I highly recommend that you do one of two things, or even both of these things. And that is just to either copy and paste that title of that article into Google, or to copy and paste the DOI into Google to see if that content isn't freely available online from the publisher already. More and more content is being made available through open access licenses, which means it's free for you as the user to obtain it and use it. And so it's worth your effort to take that extra little step there at the beginning to see if that content isn't already available to you online for free before you click that link to request a copy. And so when you click the link to request a copy, what it will do is sign you into our Interlibrary Loan Portal, which is the tool that we use to facilitate all of these requests. Now, the nice thing about this is that it will bring over all that information for that article. And so you don't have to worry about filling in the author and the title and so on and so forth. You just need to make sure that your contact information is correct before you submit the request, so that as this request is processed, you'll receive updates. And finally, when it's ready for you, you'll receive an email letting you know that's the case. And you'll just come back, you'll click on the link within the email to come into this portal to be able to click on the PDF to get that article that's been supplied to you from another library. So as we think about citing our sources, so I'm going to wrap up here on talking about citing sources, but as we talk about that, we want to make sure, again, that we're using an authoritative source. And so just below that database's image, you have one for citation guides. And so we do have an APA writing guide. And this essentially is just the writing guide that's been developed by the Writing Center. And we've just kind of translated it into this format online to help you think about how to correctly use your sources and ethically use your sources when you're writing. And so you can use this to, get some examples of how to cite your sources correctly in text in APA style. You can get some examples of, well, how do I cite a dissertation, or how do I cite a book or an article? And you can just come in here, see the pattern, see a couple of examples, just to make sure that you're citing those things correctly. So back to our list of databases, the next thing we want to consider is using eBooks and how to find eBooks. And so in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and keep that business subject applied. And I'm going to choose the next type of filter, and that is I just want to look for eBooks. And so one really robust database that we have access to is called ProQuest eBook Central. Sometimes you might see it referred to as eBook Central Academic Collection. And so again, this offers you full text access to a large number of ebooks. And so in this case, one of the articles that I looked at previously, I looked at the bibliography there just to see what kind of sources were used. And so I noticed that there was a handbook related to mentoring. And so the title of that was Handbook of Mentoring at Work. And so I just want to see if we actually have access to that ebook through this collection. And sure enough, we do. And so here we have access to that ebook. We can click on that, read this online, download a certain number of pages, and so on and so forth to help us with using this particular ebook. So you can also approach searching in ebook databases as we did with the article database. So you can just put in keywords there and see what titles come up. But if you have that specific title, you can very easily search to see if you have access to it. And in this case, very happily, we do. So the last type of source that we want to consider, I'm going to go ahead and clear out my filters here. The last type of source that I want to consider are theses and dissertations. And so I'm going to point out two databases here to you. The first is ProQuest Dissertations and Theses Global. And so this is a very robust database that contains theses and dissertations, as the name implies, that have been written worldwide. And so we're just going to take a similar approach here to looking for content, employee mentoring, to just kind of get a sense of what databases or what resources are available to us. And so you go down through here and you begin to see those. And really one of the benefits of using this particular database is that you can very quickly look at the sources that were used in that particular dissertation. So you'll see here that those references are numbered and linked out for you separately from the actual document. And so you can click on those and you can use these theses and dissertations as kind of a source to mine your own research to use in your own writing that you're doing. And then last of all, we want to take a look at Wood Scholars, which is our own collection of theses and projects and dissertations that have been written here locally at the Woods. And so you can begin to search this using that search box up in the upper right-hand corner of this screen, or you can click on and explore and search individual collections. So in this case, we're just searching within the Department of Business and Leadership. And so we will look for mentoring to see what projects have been written on mentoring in the past. And so there you have the full text of these particular projects that you can also look at and use through that particular interface. So again, what I wanted to do with our time today was just remind you of these resources that are available to you. And, as always, as you're working on your research, if you have questions, we'll end with this Ask Us section on our library page. You are always free to reach out to us with those questions to get some assistance to help you in completing your research. And there are lots of different ways that you can do that, as you see there on the screen in front of you. But if you do have any questions or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out and we would be happy to help you further. Thank you.